2007. This meeting, as you will know when you see this, is not live tonight. We're taping it, so hopefully you'll enjoy the show. First order of business tonight is our annual school choice hearing. We do this every year to determine whether or not North Reading is going to vote to support the school choice program in Massachusetts. So at this time, I'd like to open up the hearing and see if anybody in the audience has any comments to make on the school choice plan. Seeing none from the audience, any comments from the school committee? Okay. I'll close the hearing at this time, and we will be taking a vote on school choice later on this evening. Second order of business tonight is regular public input. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to be heard on any subject related to our schools? Yes, could you state your name and come up to the microphone, please? Name and address.
Yes, microphone.
Yes.
Okay, would you like me to sit down?
Yes, please.
Okay. Did you turn anything on?
No.
Okay, great. My name is Christine Shapiro. I live at 45 Central Street. I have two daughters in the school system. My daughter Olivia is in second grade at the little school, and my daughter Emily is in seventh grade at the middle school. Basically, I just want to make myself heard. There are many things I'd like to say, but in the aftermath of the override vote, I'd like to address a few things, I guess, that are of concern to me. The overall, effect on the school programs, what we kind of, know generally what form the proposals that have been made, the, potential cuts that have to come, and so on and so forth. Going forward, I just feel like, since the vote, that, our system has just, it's hitting a really steep spiral downward. And I don't know, what the future is. Even, that's great. Next year we know it's going to be bad. How much worse can it possibly be? And what, and what actions are going to be taken to counteract that, until we get to a point where we suddenly, lose accreditation for the whole system? I don't even know. I don't know enough about, school systems and, how, that they're administered from, the state level or whatever, the oversight that's there or not there and so forth. But, I did see comments in the paper, in the transcript, that, for instance, the reduction in class sizes at the high school, or increase in class sizes at the high school, would have to be reported to the New England Association of Schools and Colleges, and Dr. Troten suspected it would trigger some kind of response. I guess I'd like to know a little bit more in detail, what that means, and just looking forward, what it will mean as we continue to cut programs and increase class sizes and so forth. Just where does it end? And what plans are there? Because it obviously seems like we can't have any overnight solutions to, the money. There isn't some magic pot of money waiting out there from the state or from anywhere else. And I really fear for the future of my daughter's education and for the education of every student in this system. So far, I have nothing but positive to say. We've had an excellent experience here. And teachers, the programs, the classwork. I have to say that, and I've just moved, my family and I moved here from Connecticut, only a year and a half ago. And we actually were trying to make our decision, about moving to Massachusetts. It was based on my husband's job, having lost it in Connecticut and had a potential opportunity here in Massachusetts. And really, we thought we were leaving a situation in our school system back in Connecticut, in a town very similar to North Reading in terms of its demographics, its overall tax base and so forth. And we thought we'd be making definitely a step forward. And we also went through and did a lot of homework, a lot of research on the internet and talking to people about different systems. We looked into the Metro West area, looked in Reading, North Reading, this area here, and ultimately, it wasn't just sort of like, pick a town, this sounds good, this looks nice, let's come here. We were really going based on statistics and reports and so forth that are available from various sources, online and elsewhere. And, I mean, we're just shocked. I mean, we're shocked that we've suddenly come to this point in seemingly such a short time, but obviously, it's built over a long time. And now we feel like we've really been just let down, and that we've really made a bad decision that's gonna affect our daughter's future. And, but like I said, everything has been wonderful up until now, but it seems like it's not gonna be very wonderful,
Well, I'll open with a
next
few
few years.
comments, and then I'll let Superintendent Troten and other school committee members comment. But, and this may just sound like empty rhetoric, but I can assure you that the teachers and the rest of the staff we have here are gonna continue to do a great job. But the issue is, what resources do they have to do that job with? And that's the issue we're gonna be grappling with later on tonight. I believe Dr. Troten has pretty much laid out a plan back a month or two ago about what we would do if the override did not pass, and we're going to discuss that tonight. And we're hopefully going to be laying out pretty much most of the plan that's going to be put in place next year. Where do we go? I don't know where we go. It's a state problem, it's a federal problem, and it's a local problem. And until the state takes a look at how education is funded, I don't think the local communities can get a grasp on it, because depending on the property tax is not a way to fund a public education system. There are some movements in the state to help address, hopefully, the health insurance costs, which are skyrocketing. And I think if we could see a move in that direction, either from the state or from the town, that would be a big help to us. But that's not a total solution to the problem. Addressing the high school issue, I think we may have an issue, and Dr. Troten may want to comment on this, with the accreditation. We were put on, warning back 3 years ago, was it? And we had a report sent to us, and we had to address those issues. And my fear is that we're going to start failing to meet some of those issues. We're out hearing from the high school tonight with the school improvement plan, the high school council. A lot of great ideas in there. But it's pretty sad when you look at all those ideas and realize we don't really have any money to implement those ideas. So Dr. Troten, if you want to address a little bit more.
You're right. When you mentioned NEASC, or New England Association, the high school's coming up to its 5th year accreditation, or mid-cycle accreditation, but going back 5 years, we thought we were in trouble then, but we're actually in much deeper trouble today than we were 5 years ago. Each year, the high school principal needs to file what's called a substantive change report if there is anything that's significantly different for the coming year than the current year. The last time this happened, we were coming up to our high school accreditation, our 10-year accreditation, the following spring. But the substantive change report prompted a focused evaluation by NEASC in September of that school year. And the school committee and I were informed in June prior to that, shortly after that substantive report was filed. Some of the changes at the high school that would prompt such a report include the elimination of our department heads. That will happen under this failed override. I met today with, actually for 6 hours, again today with my administrative team. We met on Friday, we're meeting again on Thursday, and trying to take the plan that the school committee has approved that was clearly articulated to the community in terms of how we would use the resources that would be available to us under the so-called balanced budget or the failed override. And it's, as I've said on several occasions, and I've outlined many times, the consequences of not having sufficient funding. This is not an act of retribution or retaliation, as I'm hearing some people say. You're absolutely right. There is no money coming. We do not expect additional money from the state. And so we're going to move ahead with the plan that was laid out and approved. That includes the elimination of a number of programs or substantial reduction in programs. And that does mean the increase in class size. For example, while on the surface it looks like one cut from the high school, eliminating physical education in the 11th and 12th grade. But that's about 150 students who will not have an elective class, but our current graduation requirements require that they take elective classes, 8 classes over 2 days. And so we're going to be throwing 150 students into the schedule, trying to find room for them. Well, simple math tells us that either we're going to have to sustain class sizes that are in the mid-30s or higher, or we're not simply going to make a schedule that will work for many students. So we're talking about, well, what does that mean? What do you do? And if you limit the number of available choices. Without curriculum support, programs that our department heads are critical. They're working with 6 to 8 teachers in a given field within the high school and within the middle school, and several of them district-wide. From libraries to to technology, to math and science. These are people who are experts in their area. While the principal certainly is responsible for his or her school, we need department heads who receive a $3,500 stipend to oversee the work in that particular area. They're very helpful in looking at specialized programs for students. And we're not going to have department heads because we are cutting out of this budget the stipends for that. And the list goes on that I'll be talking about in greater detail. I'm very concerned that the reaction of the community will be divisive, that it will polarize neighbor against neighbor, parent against parent, staff against staff, and school against school as you try to fight for limited resources. It's going to be imperative that we try to figure this out. But what I can tell you with the best thinking on the part of principals and department heads and the school committee and the business manager and myself, I see no way around this. This is not a situation where, well, I've been receiving a number of emails from people, could you save this program? Well, saving a program is at the expense of something else, and so there's really nowhere to turn. So if you take out program X to restore program Y, then something else ultimately will give. And it's a financial problem. School's opening in September, and it will affect. You don't recapture the time that you spent in school. You just don't shut down the factory line. You don't slow down production. Because this is a continuous process. Children are always growing, and that time passes quickly, and we need that time to work effectively with kids. And it isn't just the teacher who is doing the math or the reading or the science and social studies. It's art and music and library research and technology and physical education. And while we're trying to push forward with more time, I mean, every week there's an article in the Boston Globe about extending the school day. There was one today, and we're turning in the opposite direction. The high school standpoint, it means substantial changes in class size. It means restricted choices. It does mean reporting to the New England Association. At the middle school, it means substantial reductions or eliminations in vital programs for students: art, music, physical education, technology, international cultures. And at the same time, when you're sustaining in the 6th grade 30 students in every class, and when it means that in the 7th and 8th grade you will sustain 27 to 30 students in every class, when it means when you take those programs out, even if you do have and will have early release days on Wednesday, and we haven't yet set the time, but it will be at least an hour to an hour and a half every Wednesday where kids are going home unsupervised. I'm deeply concerned about that, particularly at the middle school. I understand the burden on families in terms of 2 parents or single parents who need to work. And